Wow, actually got some good news after all the bad news. So, let me show you something. Since the plumber had come and he had, hooked this up, put a cap here and cap here. I'm going to put a valve in here, but for right now, I thought, I'm going to just bypass that. So I just hooked up a hose, turned on the water, and I thought, you know what, this valve right here, figure out what's going on. So I turned this on manually by unscrewing this little air release, bypassing the electrical part of it, turned it on, and say, let's see what we get. So it's running, and look at this. I got water coming out here, which is great. Coming out on all of these bubblers. Okay, so that's nice. And that's obviously coming, this valve is what's controlling this zigzag jig-jag pipe that we talked about that comes across here, and goes to this, I don't remember if it was I think it's this first valve here, that one. And then it comes across and goes over to that side. And then this valve comes, there's an elbow and it goes across over to this side. So let's go check that out. Hey, what do you know? It's working. Bubblers are working. All of them. Very nice. Let's go over here. That one's working. That one's working. I don't see one here. There's probably buried. The ground is kind of wet. I was digging by hand and it's a little damp. Maybe there's no bubbler. And then this one is all working. Now, I do know that I have a leak in this area here because a while back this area was bubbling up and extra water. So if I let this run for a half hour, I'm probably going to get, this area is going to get wet. So I have a few options now. I can actually choose to, somebody's car alarm is going off. That's nice. I can choose to either, dig down here and try to repair this, which I don't think is going to be a good way to go because I already dug a good bit up right here and over here, and the leak is basically down under the roots of this guy. So that's probably not going to be a real good way to go. Might be good to, I can either bypass it by connecting in here to the pipe coming out and running a new line, underground or above ground or whatever, and connect it into that and go from there, bypassing the leak. Or I could go ahead and do kind of what I was saying before, which is run a line above ground and across these things, which I might still do. I'm not really sure, but I'm super happy right now that at least I can run this front system and water the trees. So even if I have to turn it on manually, that will be great. I guess it's better than hand watering everything. So we're in good shape. Now what I've got to do is go ahead and get a vacuum breaker valve for this. And I'm going to see if I can figure out if this guy is actually wired in. It probably is wired into the back valves around the corner there in the back. And if it is, that back valve back there has two valves, and two coming in and two going out, but the wiring turns on both of those valves for two different circuits on the clock. I could probably disconnect the one that's the white pipe going out to the yard that leaks. I could cap that off and disconnect that valve, and then I could wire in, make sure that the clock is connected up to this valve up here. I do see I've got wiring here. Got both the hot and the neutral line, so I don't know how far back this goes. Interestingly enough, in the back, I don't see both of those white and red coming into the box from this direction. So I'm gonna go back there and take a look at it. Okay, so this is the part I had dug up where we've got all the pipes coming out of the output side of this box for these valves. And these are the two valves again. So this, again, this black one here on this side is feeding the black poly, which is for the garden. And then this one here is coming in, and it's a white pipe coming out, which goes into the yard, and that's a huge leak. So I could cap this guy off right here, or even right here. But my question at this point is, I know I've got wires coming from the control box. Here's one for this black poly, and here's one for this other valve, which obviously works because it turns on that water to the yard. But I only see one wire going towards the front yard. I don't see another power wire. And up in the front there, there's two wires right there. So I'm possibly losing the wire here somewhere. Not really sure. I'm gonna investigate that. But right now, I'm super happy because I can at least water the cypress trees now without having to flood my backyard. So good news, good news. Yeah, that's pretty exciting. I still do have a leak up here in the front at this one tree, but again, I'll figure out what to do with that. But I'm pretty happy with where we're at, considering all the trouble we just had with our main water line. So got a little sigh of relief here. Okay, here's another little puzzle piece. I just dug this up, so now I get a better picture of it. So we got those two valves in the box, two pipes coming out, which one elbows in and tees into this other. So got one line comes, that's the line coming from the front. I see both wires, red and white, here, and I also see the black poly pipe, which is coming from the front up there. So a lot of puzzle pieces answered here. Basically, I see this other red wire. I don't see it in the box, but I do see three red wires here. So I see one here, which dives under the ground, and I got these two. These two come into the box. One for this valve here, and one for this valve here, which I just disconnected. That's this guy. So I'm gonna put that to the side. This one here feeds the black poly pipe for the garden. So I'm gonna keep that connected. This one I've got disconnected, which feeds the yard for the leak. So I'm gonna end up capping that off, but for now, I'm just disconnecting the valve so it won't turn on. And I believe this red wire here is coming from right here, which is coming from the irrigation box. So I'm pretty sure if I turn on the different valves or on the clock and I check the power to this one, I know which valve that's on the clock. And then I go up to the front and put my meter on there and check that red wire and the white wire and turn on the different valves. I'll find which one it is, and I may have control of the front yard independently of this other valve, which I just disconnected. Making progress. I think things are looking good here. Okay, so I did turn on the clock. There are three different zones, or three different outputs, and they are those three red wires. So one going here to this one, this valve, and one going to that valve, which is disconnected. And the third wire does in fact go up to the front to that valve, although it's corroded. So when I check for voltages at these, this one works for the garden. That one is not, because I've disconnected it. I don't want to go out to the yard and flood the underneath the ground there. And then the third one, I definitely do get power going out to the zone on the clock. Open it up here. So I have these three outputs here, 1, 2, 3, and all three of those are working. I have a fourth one actually for the pool, which I've turned off for now. But these three red wires are connected. for right now, I went ahead and turned off everything except for the garden. Okay, I've got those labeled on what, you know, what's going where. And then basically the one in the front, all I have to do is cut the wires, and because they're corroded, I'm going to cut them back a ways and check to see that I have power. So I think that's going to work. Yeah, I think that'll work. So all I have to do is go in the front. I'm not going to be able to do it now. I think I've got to stop for today. It's Sunday, and working today. I do Saturday as a day of rest, but next chance I get, I'm gonna cut that wire back and check for voltage there, and I think we're going to be in good business. I might have to replace that valve up there because it's been a long time since it's been working. But I think we're in good shape now, so I'm breathing a sigh of relief for some progress here. Thanks, guys. We'll talk to you later.